Welcome back to the class. And today we are going to look at some other aspects of the introductory part, which are going to include the syntax, the indentation, comment, variables. We're going to look at the ways of assigning values to variables, and also we're going to look at some aspect of local variable and then global variables. Then we look at functions. Thereafter, we go to data types. We look at some aspect of data types and we call it a day. Then let's begin. Yeah. So first, uh, you need to initiate your CMD, which is your local uh, local shell. Then let's first of all look at the syntax in Python. But before we proceed, let's first of all invoke our Python shell. Yeah, yeah, we are in there. How can you identify the syntax? Among the syntax of Python is print. When you type print, you open a bracket. What do you want to print? I want to print hello world. So I can just put a quote. This is the quote. You can use a single quote or a double quote. Now I'm going to show you the two. I've put my quote and I will type hello world. Then close the bracket, press enter. You can see this is to tell you that print statement is a syntax of Python. Then what if I make use of single quote? Let me quickly type that print single quote hello world. By the time we use that, let's see what will happen. Then close the bracket and press enter. We have the same output. So either you make use of single quote or a double quote. Python understand that is a string. Now, some errors might occur while you are working in the code base. What are the errors that might occur? It include how you make use of the strings. For example, if I type print, then I put a single quote from the beginning, I put hello world, then or let me say, okay, I put a single print and I wrote Shola's hello world. Shola's, no use apostrophe S, Shola's hello world. We want to see what will happen at the end of the day. So let's close the bracket and I press enter. It's going to throw error. Why is it throwing error? You can see that there is a place underlined with a carat symbol. That is where our error is from the beginning. So that is where our error is. If you look at this, Shola is our error. Why? Because we use a single quote to wrap all our statements, and we also have an apostrophe s. So in this situation, there will be an error because it could no longer identify another single quote that starts and ends the s at the same time. That's the one that starts the h. So if I want to correct this now, all I need to do, let's try this way again. Now I want to put a quote in front of this. Let's see what it's going to give us. Okay, now let's press enter. Now see that we still have the same error. Why? Because there are too many quotes. The system could not understand it. So, and if you look at the information, it says invalid syntax. Perhaps we forget a comma. Can you see that? So let's try again with another aspect by indicating with um okay. So now I want to indicate this single quote with double quotes. Let's see what it's going to give us as an output. You can see that it prints it out as an output correctly. Why? Because when you have a single quote wrapping all your text, that is all your statements, and you are going and your write up is going to have another quote in it, then you have to use the other quote to indicate that. So now that I'm using single quotes outside, the inner quote must be a double quote. That is when the Python shell will understand what you are saying or what you are doing. But if you do it this way, it is also wrong grammatically. How can you write Shola's and you put double quote as an apostrophe of S? So in that case, it is advisable you make use of your double quote. Let's quickly change this to single, and we change it to double. So when you have this in this process, you are going to have it corrected. Now it's correct with the Python shell, it's correct when it comes to grammatical structures. Okay, then then the next thing we need to do is to check if the same thing happens when we make use of double quote outside and double quote inside. Now let's quickly see that we have this, then let's test. You can see which shows that the same rule that guide the single quote also guide the double quote. So take note of that when you are dealing with your syntax. Another thing we can do with syntax is let's say, okay, let's go ahead with, the more we keep on doing it, I will keep on telling you that this is a syntax. Then let's look at the next thing we need to understand, that is indentation. If you look at the way these errors are being presented, they are indented. So how can we show our indentation? You have to ensure that when you are typing your code, there is an indentation. For example, if I say if, okay, let me do it this way, x equals 5. If x is not 5. Now, can you see these three dots below? That three dots shows the indentation in this command line. But on your text file, because we are still going to migrate to text file later on when we are about to start in detail. So on your text file, you have to make use of your tab key to create the indentation. So if x is not 5, print print it is not available, then close. Can you see what it's saying? Said indentation error. Do you know why? Indentation error expected an indented block after if. So why does this happen? Is just basically on the fact that after these three dots, I am expected to use my tab key to create an indent that will make my print not to be in the same line with if. But if you look at this write up, this print here is directly under the if statement, which means there is no indentation, and that is why it throws error and giving me the information that expected an indented block after if statement on line 1. So now I'm going to do that again. If x is not 5, okay, x equals to 5. If x is not 5, then indented, I've make use of tab now, and print it is not available. Then when you press enter, can you see? What do you think is expecting now? Because I said if x is not 5, and the command line knows that x is already 5. So that means I'm going to put an else statement. Now you can see where I put my else. My else is directly under if. That is one of the rules of Python. You must know how to indent your code. So because I want to give another condition, that is why I'm putting else. And that is why I will also indent again with tab and say print print then x. Let me make it this way. Okay, x is, I want to use that variable. So what would I say? X. So I will need to do something like this. Let's see if it's going to accept it. We use a format string and this until it doesn't accept it. So alright, let's see the warning. Syntax warning is not with a literal. Do you mean okay? Okay. I get what is happening here. Now what this want me to do is that it doesn't want me to use a direct English, which is not. So it want me to make use of this. Is that clear now? So let's rewrite our code. And if you look at this, it finally gave me x is 5 as response. So standing in, it gave me syntax warning for is not, and at the long run, it came down to the else statement to tell me x is this, which is x is 5. Can you see that? So which means the condition in the first line here was not met. Is that clear now? Was not met because it couldn't identify the statement of is not, rather it identified this exclamation and equal sign, which means this exclamation and equal sign is the same thing as is not. Is that clear now? So I intentionally wrote it that way for it to bring all these errors so that you can see them when you can see them and know what to do when you encounter something like that. So because in coding there is bound for you to fall into bug. So any error is called a bug. So this is a bug and automatically it's telling you that what is not recognized as the syntax. So what it recognized as the syntax is this exclamation and equal sign, which means it's not. So immediately this line was not completed, then it has to go to the next block, which is else, because each of this line we regard to them as block code. So this is a block and this is a block, this is a block. So checking the first line, it says that s is not 5 and it couldn't even identify the syntax. So he skipped the print statement and moved to what? And moved to else, that else s is 5, which means if x is not 5, you should print this, and meanwhile s is 5. So condition here this condition has already given us that what? Our x is 5, which is the reason why it's showing 5 below the screen. Then let's look at how do we comment in Python. In Python, we comment in two different ways. The first one is the use of hash. When you type hash, this is a comment. Is the system will not do anything. The command line will not do anything to it because it knows is a comment. Then you can also comment with docstring. Call it docstring. This is a docstring. You can see that shows it is a comment. So most of the time I make use of this. to comment, and sometimes I make use of this. Depends on what you want to do. And as it is, the system recognize it is a comment. So you don't need to disturb yourself. If, for example, let's say x equals to 6, then you say, oh, forgotten, x equals to 6, then let me put hash this, the x value suppose to be 10. Now this is a comment, right? So let me press an enter key and I say print x. I said I only print 6. It has nothing to do with that comment because the comment has no information to pass. It's just a comment to tell anyone reading the code to know that, okay, this x value, this is what you should be expecting, but this is what we put. Then let's try the other way around. X, then we can, sorry, x equals to 6, then we now put a dot string. This x value suppose to be 10. Then we now say print x. And you see that consider it doesn't print that doc string, rather it only pick it as a comment to be documented. That's why it's called doc string. So those ones are being documented. That's why when you're writing your code and you make use of doc string very well, by the time you are trying to carry out the documentation of your codes, all these doc string will also be included in those areas that they are needed, so that anyone reading the documentation will be able to read and understand the function of that function you've written there that makes you to put that comment. So that is that on comment. Then we have, let's look at how to declare variable. One thing you don't get is that we've been declaring variable since morning. How do we declare variable? Variable is just you saying y is equals to 10. That means you have declared a variable. And what do we mean by variable? Y is your variable, 10 is your value. So assigning variable to a value is what we make use of in Python, or let me say in programming language in general. We assign variable to values, or sorry, we assign values to variables. So our variables are the one on the left hand side, while our values are the one on the right hand side. And when you are assigning a value to a variable, you make use of the assignment operators. We are still going to get to operators where we'll be talking about the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, equal sign, greater than, less than, equals to, greater than, equals to, less than, equals to, not equals to, and so on and so forth. So that is how to assign your values. So you assign a value with the equal sign. So that is how to assign values. Also, you can assign multiple values. You can assign multiple values, but before we go to multiple values, let's look at legal variable names and illegal variable name. For example, if you write my variable is equals to, let's say, John, this is a good variable. If you write my underscore var is equals to Johnson, this is also a good variable. If you write underscore my underscore var is equals to Johanna, it's also a variable. If you write my var equals to Jonathan, it's also a variable. My var2 is equals to John Wood. Also a variable. When you have all these are examples of a good variables. These are examples of a good variables, and these kind of variables are good enough for you as a Python programmer to follow as a convention. Now, I will advise you as a Python developer, the best one we make use of most of the time is the second and the third variable most of the time, because you might want to have complex statement to use as a variable. So instead of writing in camel case, you are not a JavaScript developer. A JavaScript developer are those who write in camel case, but a Python developer write with underscore. You write your statement with underscore in it or starting it. So that's why you can use the third variable to write as your convention of writing variables. You can start your variables with an underscore. You can start with a letter. You can end your variable with a number. You can start your you can start your variable with a capital letters, or you can also use your what's the name? Sorry, you can use capital letter all through to write your variables, and you can use small letter all through to write your variables. But you can't use numbers to start your variables. You can't use hyphen in your variable, and you can't use space in your variable. Let's quickly show that. Okay, let me write this. Print. I want to print all our variables. Okay, print y, comma. Let me see if it's going to respond fast. Y var, comma, my underscore var, comma, underscore my underscore var, comma, my var, comma, then which one again? Okay, my var 2. So let's print this. You can see it says my var 2 is not defined. Oh, it's not. Oh, sorry. Print it is var I wrote instead of var. Okay, so now you can see that we have everything printed on the screen. So now when you now make use of illegal variable, is what will happen? Let's check it out. So we have to my var equals bobo. What do you see? It says invalid decimal literal, which means it does not accept numbers starting a variables. Then the second one is my dash var equals bobo. Let's see this. Can you see the error again? It says syntax error, cannot assign to expression here. Maybe you meant equal, which means equals to. That is when you are evaluating if the right variable is equal to the value in the left. I'm sorry, the left variable is equal to the value in the right variable. So when you are trying to checkmate two variables, you make use of equal instead of equals. So that's what it's trying to tell us, because you can see that there is an error in that my var, and that hyphen is signifying a message that this thing is either equal sign or equal. So what's the problem? That's why it's throwing error. So that's why you can use that as a variable. Then the last one is space. When you write my var equals ball. And see, invalid syntax straight away. Why? It has two variables already. My is a variable and var is a variable, which makes it not acceptable in Python to declare a variable with a space. Rather, it's either you concatenate, you write them together, or you put an underscore in between, or you put underscore before it, or you put a number after it. That is how to put your variables in the right proportion. Then let's also look at how do you assign multiple variables. Now we want to look at how to assign multiple variables to our variables. So in that case, assigning multiple variable, let's say we have x, comma y, comma z. These are three variables: x, y, z. We want to assign variables to them. Then we put equals to. Then the next thing we need to do is to add each of these variable one after the other by putting them in quotes: orange, mango, and then let me say purple. I like purple. Okay, so enter, then print. I want to print them one after the other so that it won't look like, oh, you print the three together so that they can print at a go. All right, I'll print them one after the other by doing what? Print x, then print y, print z. Now I want to print everything. Print x, comma y, comma z, comma. But I don't need comma for that. Print. Can you see? When you print it one after the other, it's going to print the exact one you ask it to print. When I say print x, it print only x. Print y, it prints only y. Print z, it prints only z. Then now I said print the three at a go. So also I only separate them with a comma, which makes it easier for the print statement to understand that what orange, mango, and purple are separate values, which are what? X, Y, Z. All right. So let's also look at how to assign one variable to three, one variable to multiple, one value to multiple variables. So in that case,